Hi everyone, thanks for joining our live session on the G Technology ArmorLock. Hopefully the audio of the video wasn't too loud, and we'll start cracking on. So my name is Keith Warburton, I'm the brand director here for G Technology. Very excited to be joined by Ruben Dennenwaldt from G Technology in Germany. He's a senior marketing manager. And also Grace Ensel, the Northern Sales Manager for G Technology. So during the session, we'll be talking about the ArmorLock. We'll be understanding its features, its benefits, why it was created. Ruben's going to take us through a slide presentation as to some of these features, and then we'll be giving a live demonstration as to how it works in real life. And going to be honored to hopefully be joined by our special guest, Tom Mitchell from Mission Digital. He's the technical director there. And he'll be taking us through, he was one of the original beta testers, so he'll be taking us through some of his experience and really how he sees the product in the M&E market. So without further ado, let's go over to Ruben from Germany. Ruben, would you like to say a few words about yourself, and then we'll kind of go over to Grace?
Sure. Thank you, Keith. So hi, everyone, and thanks for joining us. My name is Ruben Dennenwaldt. I head the product marketing team for Western Digital in the EMEA region, and pleasure for me to be here today and talk about our new ArmorLock technology with you guys. So before we do that, what we're going to do is I'm going to give you a bit of a background of the technology and product, and then the really interesting bit is going to be a live demo of the product, followed by a Q&A session and other stuff. So before we do that, I'll quickly hand over to Grace to introduce herself. Grace, over to you.
Hello everyone, and thanks for joining us today. I'm Grace Ensel, and I'm the G Technology sales lead for EMEA at Western Digital. And we're really excited to show you today our new ArmorLock encrypted platform. And I'll hand back to Ruben, who is going to show you the demonstration.
Yes, actually, before we do the demonstration, like I said, let's go into a couple of slides. So I will keep that relatively short. No one wants to see millions of slides, so I'll keep that short, but I think it's important to tell you a little bit about the background and where we're coming from, and why we do believe that this is really a game changer and a technology that can almost revolutionize the industry. So ArmorLock Technology is our new security platform. We live in a world today where data privacy is constantly threatened. There are numerous examples for that: data breaches, leaks, cybercrime. So no matter whether it's really from the M&E world, it's a leak of the latest Game of Thrones episode before it aired, or whether it's in businesses where credit card information or customer data leaks, whether it's insurance companies, or it could even be like smaller or medium-sized businesses like lawyers or doctors. Their data is something that really is worthwhile protecting, and there are numerous examples of leaks. So it is quite a hot topic. Today, basically, people need to know more than ever that their content is protected and is secure. So what we've done is we're basically blazing a new trail with cutting-edge data protection for all storage devices. So the important thing to understand is what we're introducing is a technology, a platform, rather than just one single product. So it is something that over time will evolve and will find its way into other products as well. So welcome to ArmorLock. It's our revolutionary security platform, which combines simplicity of use, which is really important because it doesn't slow you down, makes it super easy, but at the same time super secure, and that on a high performance rugged product. So let's talk a little bit about the technology. What we've done is we made connecting more secure. So we invented a new sophisticated pairing method. As everything on ArmorLock goes through your phone, the pairing is basically the first step when you set it up. So that is really important that it's secure and easy. The experience you will have is similar to what you use probably from Apple AirPods or something, that you just take out of the box, and you basically, the iPhone sees it, you click on OK, and that's pretty much it. So setting up ArmorLock and the security is that easy. We looked at key management and worked on the EEC, the elliptic curve encryption algorithm, which is based on NIST P256 standards, and made our product super secure also against side channel attacks here. Authorization is a major topic, so giving control about how you authorize users is really important. That is, again, it's easy and it gives you full control, which is important, especially in M&E environments where you're not having one person with one drive working on a project. Typically, it would be a group of people with several drives. So managing this authorization and control is really key. And my favorite bit is we really made passwords a thing of the past. So everything in ArmorLock goes through the unlock methods and biometrics on your phone. So on the iPhone, that's Face ID or Touch ID. Basically, everyone who can use this is able to use ArmorLock and to unlock the secure drive. So we all know stories of people who hardware encryption. That is something that's been around for a while, so that's not necessarily a new thing. But what people do quite often is they do stuff like attaching a Post-it with the password to the back of the drive. And that is obviously not what we want. So we can eliminate that kind of human error, if you want, or mistake by having this unlock method. Like I said, the phone is really the key in ArmorLock. So we have a simple drive unlock basically by just looking at your phone and unlocking with Face ID. Multi-drive and multi-user management is super easy from within the app. I'm going to show that to you as part of the demo. So how you authorize other users to access the data on your drive is really easy and is really straightforward, but at the same time super secure. We also have features like secure erase and self-formatting. Obviously, when you don't need the data on a drive anymore, through the app, you don't have to use a notebook or computer or anything. You can securely erase the data on your drive through the app, and that is really a secure method rather than just deleting it. And the data might still be around somewhere. That is not what the app does. The app really does a secure erase. And lastly, given that everything works through the phone and phones do have GPS and everything built in, we put in a feature which is called last known location. This is in particular if you're working in teams or with multiple drives, this is super useful, because if you happen to not know where a drive is, you can look it up where the drive has lastly been used, and that location will be shown on a map within the app. Now let's look a bit at the product and at the hardware we've been launching. It's the ArmorLock Encrypted NVMe SSD by G-Tech. So what it is basically, this is how it looks like. On the top, you have LED indicator lights for to show you the status, whether it's locked or unlocked. Like I said, you have 256-bit AES hardware encryption. Everything goes through the app. But you also have all the good stuff you would know from other G-Tech products, like pro-grade speeds up to 1,000 megabytes a second, perfectly suited for anything you would do in ProRes, 4K, 6K, 8K. Whenever you move large files around, that's the kind of performance you want from your storage. The yellow bit, and I'm going to show this to you in a bit more detail during the unboxing, the yellow bit is actually not just a design element, it's a aluminum core, which is used for heat dissipation. That works very effectively and has the nice effect that the drive doesn't really get hot too much, so it gets warm but not really hot. And that basically the benefit of that is that throttling doesn't kick in really. So we have really long sustained write speeds, unlike competitor drives that throttle after a certain time, and where the speed and performance actually goes down after writing some data. That doesn't happen with our drive. The heat dissipation is so effective that it keeps the drive cool enough to keep the performance up on 1,000 megabytes per second. And it is like other products of that range, it's ultra rugged with IP67 rating, so it's dust and water resistant, drop proof, crush resistant. So it is really a very robust product. And lastly, before we move into the demo, I wanted to give you a quick overview across the portfolio. As you can see, we have 4 rugged products now, starting with the Armor ATD, which is our HDD-based rugged product. Then the G Drive Mobile SSD people know and love. That's a product that's working really well for us. On the right-hand side, you have the Mobile Pro, which is a Thunderbolt 3 based solution maximized for highest possible performance. And from a performance perspective, sitting right in the middle, you have the new ArmorLock Encrypted NVMe SSD. Now, yes, performance is higher on the Mobile Pro, but that's not the main thing ArmorLock is about. ArmorLock is mainly around security and having that super high security standard, but at the same time having a product that is super easy to use and super convenient to use. And that with a USB-C interface and 1,000 megabytes a second is compatible with a lot of devices and at the right performance level for all your professional needs. Now, what we've done is, and I'm coming to the end of the slide deck now, is we made encrypted storage so strong and so simple to use that you won't want to live without it, and you won't have to. So this is the first product in a series of ArmorLock supported products that will be coming over the next couple of quarters.
Could you try again?
So Siri is talking in the background. Apologies for that. What we're going to do now is I'm going to switch to a different camera, and we're going to do an unboxing of the.
I didn't get that. Could you?
Of the. Hold on a second.
You have one alarm here. A Wecker alarm set for 6:30 and currently off.
So apologies, I had to get rid of my voice assistant, my lovely voice assistant. So this is how the ArmorLock product looks like. As you can see, it's a nice box that shows all the features, 2 terabyte, 1,000 megabytes per second. So really nicely designed box. If we open it up, that's what you'll find inside. So you have the ArmorLock drive as such, the yellow heat dissipating aluminum core, 2 indicator lights, Type-C connector on the top, another indicator light here. You have on the back side, you have the QR code. That is important, and I'll get to that later on. The QR code is important to authorize other users and set up the drive. And this is basically, as you can see, it's really a rugged and solid product. The other things you will find in the box is a small leaflet, some warranty information, and the product comes with a Type-C to Type-A and Type-C to Type-C cable. Now, let's put that aside for a second and connect it to the iPad, which you heard talking earlier. So as you can see, this powers up now. Amber light means the drive is locked. Now, what I'm going to do next is I'm going to show you how to connect and unlock the drive. So basically, I'll connect it now to my MacBook Pro. Again, you see here, amber indicator light, drive is locked. Now, I basically go to the ArmorLock app, which you can see here. This is showing my drive. So drive is found. It says tap to unlock. Let's go back here so you can see it side to side. I tap here, and the drive gets unlocked. That's as easy as it is. So what I can now do, basically, now that the drive is unlocked, I can use it like any other SSD that is connected to my MacBook Pro. I can copy files on it. I can move data around. So that is, I can basically switch to normal use now once the drive is locked. What I can do as well, if I plug the cable out, then obviously the drive is locked again. So let's connect it again and switch to the other camera. So I'll show you some more features of the app. So I hope you can see this. Let's give the camera a second to get into focus. Okay, there you go. So unlock it again. Once it's unlocked, I can do all kinds of things with it. So for example, I can do this and go into the manager settings. I'm the one who set up this drive, so I'm the manager of this drive. I can look at authorized users. I can create a recovery key, which while I'm setting the drive up for the first time, I'm asked to create a recovery key, which is important in case you, for example, lose your phone or something like that, or your phone gets damaged. You can allow firmware updates, you can reset the factory settings and all that kind of stuff. You can also color code your drive if you're using multiple drives. That's a nice way to know which drive you're using. And you have all the stuff I talked about earlier, like secure erase. You can look also at the information of the drive, which shows you the serial number and all that stuff. Now, what's really cool is how to authorize other users. So if you click here, I can share my user ID. So for example, if I want someone else to be able to use my drive and access the data on my drive, I can go to share, and then someone else who also has the ArmorLock app can just scan this QR code, and that's how I authorize them. Now that's if you're in the same location. If you're not in the same location and you, for example, you worked on a project and you have your footage now and that needs editing, but editing is happening in another place, in another city, and you want to ship the drive, you can do that. You can securely ship the drive and pre-authorize another user who you're shipping the drive to. So for example, I have stuff on this drive and I want I want Keith to use that. I go into this, look at Keith there, send it over, and now basically Keith will receive this on his phone. If he has the app already, that's great. If not, then he's triggered to download the app, and then he's basically authorized to access my drive as well, which is really a cool feature, because if you ship stuff around, you don't have to be worried that someone intercepts it or uses your data. That is all super secure, and you always have full control of who you authorize. Now, that is pretty much the main part of the live demo. What I would like to do now is I would like to share my screen again, which I'm not able to share my screen. Okay, that is something that's probably disabled here. Doesn't matter really. So let's see whether we can do it in a different way. Let's just switch to this camera. And I hope we can see that. Just need to improvise here a bit. This is all live. So let's do the following. I'm just gonna show you a quick Blackmagic speed test of the drive. I hope you can see that. Select the target drive. There you go. ArmorLock, open, off we go. So as you can see, it is not only a super secure, super simple to use drive, it's also a really fast drive. So the speeds in the disk speed test, Blackmagic, is coming in around 900 megabytes per second. That is because the Blackmagic speed test is a bit conservative. So if you go into Crystal Disk Mark or something like that, you would probably achieve higher speeds, but that is actually not the key point. The key point is that everything here is checked in green, which pretty much means that this drive is fast enough to do pretty much anything. Now that's a benchmark test, which is always good, but not what people do in their day-to-day life. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to copy over a file just to show you how quickly that goes. It's about 4.5 gigabyte video file, MOV file. I'll pull that over here. You can see little transfer bar pops up quickly. That's it, 4.5 gigabytes of data transferred. Now, with that being said, that is me done with the ArmorLock demo, and I would hand back to Keith now.
Ruben, thank you. That was phenomenal. So a great insight into the ArmorLock. So hopefully we should have Tom Mitchell waiting in the wings. So I guess he's kind of coming online to the system. So let's just give him a few moments just to come in there. Tom, hello, sir.
Hear me?
Welcome to the
We can hear you.
floor. So I know you have to dash soon. Tom Mitchell, Technical Director of Mission Digital. Tom's been, as I said at the beginning, a early beta tester for G Technology with the ArmorLock. So I guess without any further ado, it would be great for you to share your insight as to how you got on with the product, what you think of the industry, why does the industry need, encryption? Obviously, we're in COVID world, so everyone's remote, small teams shipping data around. So
yeah, I mean, absolutely. I think I'll start with just a little bit of background where I'm coming from as a user and individual and company. So I work here as the technical director of a company, basically providing a whole host of services, but the key ones really where these come in are sort of providing digital dailies and DIT services on set. So we're basically the custodians of the data from the point of acquisition all the way through to the point where we're handing over to VFX, editorial and DI companies. And really what I probably want to first talk about is really the challenges that we've faced that prior to ArmorLock, and how basically we are trying to meet those challenges and how also some of those challenges are not being met. So our key here is that we want to get data from point A to point B, and we want to make sure that we get it to the end users in a secure fashion, but also we don't want it to be going to anywhere that might not be useful. So, for example, someone looking to use the data. I think we're all very familiar with the hack which happened by a very big studio, and we don't want that sort of stuff happening. So there are entities which is called the MPA, and so the Moving Picture Association, and TPN, Trusted Partner Network, which the majority of the studios have signed up to, so such as Disney, Netflix, Amazon, all the major studios, because they're very aware of basically how important their data is, how valuable it is, and so that's why they're sort of particularly obviously interested in keeping control of that, because that's basically the assets that we're all trying to work on. From our perspective, we use storage in the sense that we push it to its limits in what we demand from it. So, for example, when we're working with the media on set, we're working in sometimes pretty rough conditions. That could be a hot desert with nasty dust and sand. It could be somewhere where there's torrential rain, where it literally rains driving in sideways. And we could also be dealing with very cold environments. We did a movie a few years back called Everest, and that was quite literally in double-digit minus temperatures. So we're using these devices in quite extreme conditions. So they've really got to hold up to that. And also we're using them sometimes in quite remote locations. So you don't really necessarily want to be dealing with big RAID arrays with lots of disks needing mains. Sometimes you need to be super portable, battery operated. And particularly with the sort of often requirement with encryption, it's provided us with a few challenges where there are really only a couple of ways of dealing with it, which is you could use hardware or software encryption. With hardware, you could use things like what's called SED drives. They're mechanical, like the normal spinning disk drives that you're used to. But you would need specialized RAID arrays and specialized software to deal with it. They're big, bulky, usually mains power supply, and extremely expensive if you wanted to get the kind of performance out of them needed in order to deal with the vast amounts of data on set. And the other method was software encryption, which you could do on spinning disk or you can do on SSD media. But normally you would take about a 40 to 60% performance hit on the speed of the drive, which usually meant either getting significantly faster drives to compensate, and the price rockets as far as the cost of their media at that stage, and usually becomes too expensive for a lot of productions to afford. And the downside is also the computers you're using to ingest the material are often using for processing or transcoding. And so that means that, the resources are being chewed up by this encryption. And so therefore you're needing significantly more powerful machines to be able to do the processing and ingest. And of course at the other end, at the other end as well, where you have to pull the media off. So they offered, they ended up coming at quite premium price marks to be able to have encrypted media. Certainly we looked at SSD media to do that, but SSD media came actually with some of its own drawbacks, which is that certain media, if it wasn't at a high enough class, would tend to have problems with either it wearing out reasonably quickly, because our use case scenario would be we would be filling up this media sometimes several times a day, completely filling it up and completely emptying it. SSD media has a limited number of cycles. And also when you're doing this, instead of writing a few gigabytes at a time, which is what maybe a home user might do, because you're filling it up almost all in one go, you would also get temperature problems as well. So as you would fill up the drive in one or two shots, it would get very hot. And at a minimum, you would find that you would get problems with it slowing down. And at a maximum, if it got really hot, you could potentially lose media or have corrupted media as well, which we've have happened in the past, which is why folks you always back up to multiple locations. It presented quite a number of challenges, and in many cases where productions just didn't have resources, we would actually opt for not using encrypted media because it was just too expensive. So that's sort of like the physical limitations, the hardware and the environmental limitations. When you actually did have the opportunity to be able to use encrypted media, you then had the challenge of how do you manage it? So you have all these pins or passwords that you've got to deal with for all this different, for multiple drives across a single production, across multiple different people, of which each drive would potentially have its own pin. Or you could have one pin across all the drives, which would be less secure, and then you'll be sharing that with multiple users. So you had to balance up the number of pins and the number of people, and then you had to track it and log it. And then of course, for a facility like us, we may be doing that across a dozen or so productions. So you can imagine it's quite a significant effort in order to basically track all this. So I'm not saying that it's impossible. It just adds time, effort, and energy, and obviously, ultimately, that comes at a cost. So when I got the opportunity over what I'm calling is the break to test the ArmorLock drive, and I was told that they had an encrypted drive that was quite fast, I was extremely skeptical because we've been asking for this, and I've seen various different solutions that promised big and didn't really come through. And I was actually very, very pleasantly surprised. So I've got one of the ArmorLocks with me here today, one of the ones that I was testing. And so, yeah, it kind of ticks all the boxes. So it's mobile, portable. I don't need a massive RAID array to get the performance out of it. At about 950 up and down, it covers the vast majority of most cameras that we deal with, and also with its QR code system and individual user. So you can tie it to a phone, or you can tie it to a computer, and if that device is biometric scanning as well, you can secure it that way. It also means that from a single system, we can manage all the drives. We can have a snapshot of the geotagging, so where that drive was last. So it'll help us track down any drives, which is always difficult with productions of who's got that, when they have that last minute panic of who last had that drive. And most importantly, you can also disable people after the fact from having access. If you've given out a PIN number to a drive, you can't change that PIN number of a drive until you get the drive physically back, and therefore then you have to reissue the PIN number to all the people who you do want to have the PIN number, and not that you don't. So managing all of that is so much more simple. And I'm aware that ArmorLock, as an architecture, has a long roadmap ahead with how they plan on growing that and making that simpler. So it's really answered and solved a real big problem with basically getting data, particularly from set into our lab, and also from our lab, maybe when we're shipping stuff between Soho, whether that's sort of like VFX pools, if we're not doing that over the wire, or we're putting offline media for editorial or H.264s. So it's really filled a need that basically I felt that we've been asking for a good 4 or 5 years. I'm looking forward to the products that G Technology have got potentially in the pipeline that would use this ArmorLock technology. And I think that we as an industry have been looking for a solution like this for a very, very long time. And I'm really grateful for these guys for letting me demo it and coming up with a great product. So if you've got any questions, guys, that you want to ask me, I'm all ears, basically. I hope I can help out.
Thank you. Thanks, Tom. I think if anyone wants to ask any questions, there's a functionality on here to ask a question. Is it the question mark, Keith, that they need to?
Yes.
You
can just pop your questions in there, and we can kind of bring them through. So, Tom, I don't know how much time you've got. I know you had to dash, but a brilliant insight, and as you said, something that the industry has been waiting for. A lot of people have tried. There's a lot of other encrypted drives out there, but I think the points you were making about the ruggedness, rain coming at all angles. Multi-users, people losing stuff, laptops getting stolen, phones getting stolen, the whole ability to manage that from a central location. A bit like Ruben's text to me, I have it so that if I've now got the drive, I could access it and control and do something with the data. And I guess as we kind of spoke about in the past, Tom, it's all about speed, and with encrypted drives, it tends to be slow. And as you were saying, if you've got to kind of move off, terabyte of data in a very short space of time to kind of spin stuff around, get it out again, then other encrypted drives that are only working at 200 or 300 megabytes per second is going to be a big problem, because again it comes down to the cost of people on set, on location, and the time per hour that's kind of taking. I guess if there was one feature of the ArmorLock that you would put above all of the features that it has, what feature would that be?
Well, I mean, you've already mentioned the speed, because that is obviously, as you're quite rightly, a major factor. And I'm always dubious about those disk whack tests that like Ruben did, because sometimes some of the drive manufacturers, they cheat a little bit and they put a cache at the beginning of the drive, so the first gigabyte or so that you download or whatever is really, really fast. And then you basically get into a slower part of the storage, which is the 95% of the storage. And you get that certainly with lower grade, cheaper stuff. So, I put this through like some thorough tests, or we did as a complete fill and empty. And sometimes when you refill an SSD, it's slower the second time. And for those who are a bit more technical, you probably understand about trimming. And we were getting consistent results, repetitive results, and it was incredibly fast. I would say that the other part of it is the fact that often some of our end users are incredibly talented, creatively, but sometimes, particularly with remote working, they don't have a good number of people around them, like support engineers and stuff like that. And so if I was to send this to someone who is incredibly creative, maybe an incredibly good editor, but may not necessarily have IT support, and all of a sudden they receive this for the very first time, I know that 9 times out of 10, they'll probably be able to figure it out by themselves. And if they don't, and they give me a call, within 2-3 minutes, I'll have them up and running on the new drive. And that is a huge savior, because what you don't want someone who's very frustrated at the other end of the telephone before you've even started working with them, just because they can't even get the data that you're on there, and it's convoluted steps. And then one of the things, in fact, actually I was discussing this with our data IO team, because we get regularly audited by TPN, the Trusted Partner Network. There are various different steps that we have to do, which actually hinder work, and you have to always constantly balance with security. How much does it stop you? How many steps do you have to go through before you can actually get to the work? You have to go through security stages, and you balance up how much it hinders work versus security. So if you can make sure that it doesn't hinder your work, you can get to your data with very, very low resistance, then and have the security factor very high, then you've got this sort of golden target. And I would say that's probably one of the big winning goals of this particular product and this architecture. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. One of the questions was how easy did you find it to use? So obviously that's kind of
well. So for example, I mean, I know I did test this, but I have to say I've been rusty for about a month, and I grabbed one of the other drives that I hadn't set up, and I plugged it in, and I had the test version of the app, so I had to re-download the new app. And I was doing this literally at the point the presentation started, and I had to reset it up again. In fact, it was asking for a new firmware update, yeah, I just it was basically just read and then hit next and read and hit next. And I think I could have probably done 2 or 3 drives in the time that it took. Took the start of the presentation. It was so quick. So it's great. It's really simple.
Good.
Great.
Grace, have you got anything that you wanted to ask Tom?
One of the questions that came through was about. So I'm just reading the questions here. When are we launching larger capacities? We will have other products that are coming down the line. I don't know, Ruben, if you have actual dates, but there is.
Yeah. So let me take that question, Grace. It is something I can't give you a specific date, but what I can tell you for sure is that additional capacities will be coming off this product, and it's not a matter of years; it's more like a matter of months. So you can be sure that there will be additional capacity soon.
Yeah, I mean, that was my feedback when I was doing the testing. Is that this is a great drive, 2 terabytes fits a lot of uses for sure. But when you can fill up one of these drives in about 20 minutes because it's so incredibly fast, then you're also opening the door to dealing with some of the larger camera formats. And so, it's great that you guys have got some larger capacities coming out, because having 2 or 4 or larger is going to be incredibly useful to have options. But 2 is great as well, because you don't necessarily want to buy an 8 terabyte drive if all you're doing is moving proxy media around. So, it's great. And I look forward to where the architecture of ArmorLock is going, but also what other things you might apply that to in the future.
And another one was for OS support. What when you're working on set, do you typically work in Mac OS, or are you working in Windows or Linux or other ops that you would use this with?
I mean, the vast majority of the time, yes, it's Mac OS, and there's a few different reasons for that. Certainly as a company, we choose to use Mac, particularly for on-set stuff, because we work all over the world. And if you have a machine that goes down, it's very easy to get an almost exact same spec machine from a local store because they have Apple stores all around the world, and that's what you pay for the premium for. But as soon as you start moving into a more controlled environment like a lab, then it does actually open up the OS stuff. So yes, vast majority of the time it is Mac OS, and I think most of the people that we're handing off to editors and stuff like that are working Mac OS. But we do obviously work sometimes in Windows or Linux as well, operating systems. The drive itself, I've tested on a Windows machine already, and it works fine. You just need to make sure that you format it for a Windows file system. But you do need a Mac OS device to unlock it currently, as far as I'm aware, the iPhone or a Mac laptop. But you guys might have some more news on where you're going with that.
Yeah, let me chip in there quickly, Tom. And yeah, thanks. It's a good point. So obviously you can use the ArmorLock GTEC drive with Windows machines as well and with others. To unlock, you need the iOS app right now. So currently live on the App Store, we have the iOS app, but the Android version is coming very soon. So certainly this side of Christmas, we're going to have an Android version as well.
Great, thanks, Ruben. Tom, I know you're cautious on time. Are you still good, or do you need? If you need to dash, just wave and say.
I'm probably good till 1:45, and then I do have to dash.
Oh, okay. So cool. So I guess for you, do you have any questions before you have to dash to kind of Grace or Ruben?
Well, I mean, I mean, you can always say that you're not willing to reveal this information. As a user, I've always got questions, and I'll ask them, but you may have to give a political answer. So you've already mentioned.
Very well be.
Yeah. So I will ask tentatively. So you've already said that you're going to get larger drives for these. Are you looking to both expand potentially the hardware that you might put this on, and are you looking to also expand some of the management capabilities? That would be my two key questions, really. Are you looking at the moment? We can manage it from a single machine. Are you looking to open up tools maybe for larger facilities? Like the big post-production companies. Is that something you guys are looking into? Can you answer that at all?
I would love to, because in fact we have something on the roadmap there which addresses exactly that, which is great, which I can't go into the detail now, but yes, we've been thinking about something like that, which will make it easy, for example, to manage something location based. So imagine you could have a couple of these drives, and the moment you walk into a, let's say, authorized location, they unlock and you're able to use them. And the moment you leave that location, they're locked and you can't use them anymore. So that is as much as I can reveal, yeah. But that is something we're working on right now.
So a bit like a Tesla car. Then once you buy these, the functionality may improve over time.
I'm pretty confident it will improve over time. And to address your other questions, we will be rolling this out to other product lines moving forward, which will also then not only mean higher capacity, but other types of products as well.
That sounds really exciting. Yeah, I can't wait. Obviously, like every other user who's probably watching, they'll probably want it yesterday. So
that's true.
Fantastic.
Well, thank you so guys for answering my questions. And if anybody else has got no more questions for me, I'm going to leave you guys to it. But thank you so much for having me.
Tom, pleasure. Good to see you as always.
Thank you,
Take
Tom.
care. Have a great day.
Cheers.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye. So there we go. Tom Mitchell, Technical Director of Mission Digital. Great guy. So just going through the kind of conscious of time, some of the other questions that I don't think you touched on. Is it backward compatible with USB 3? So obviously it's 3.1 Gen 2, 10 gigabits. Would it work on a computer that's kind of 3.0 kind of Type A connector?
Yes. Yes, yes, absolutely. That's not a problem at all. There's full backwards compatibility, and in the box you will also find a Type C to Type A cable. So if you're running on an older machine that, for example, doesn't have a Type C slot, you can still use the drive, which is important if you have customers and you need to send data around, for example, and they might be running on an older machine. That's not a problem at all.
Yeah. Good, ticks that one off. Did we do the whole what would happen if I lost my phone or computer? Did we answer that earlier?
I briefly touched on it in the presentation, but it is in fact a very important point, Keith. So let me repeat that quickly. During the setup of a new drive, you basically get a recovery key, and you're prompted to say print that recovery key and store it in a secure location. That is basically your key if really something happens to your primary authentication method, which is your phone. So let's say you lose your phone gets damaged or stolen or whatever it is, and you don't have access to your phone anymore, you will still have access to your drive using that recovery key.
So you could give Siri a little a reminder to remind you where you'd kept the magic piece of paper.
You could.
The Android question's been answered. I guess it's a good one. Why does the drive not have a Thunderbolt 3 interface and just 3.1 Gen 2?
It's a good question. Thunderbolt 3 is, if you want, so in terms of compatibility, somewhat limited. It's a great interface, and all new Macs and MacBook Pros and everything, all these have it. But sure, so first of all, the most important thing on the ArmorLock drive is the security bit. Following that, and in the use case, if you think about it, we also wanted to go for broadest possible compatibility. And that is something, unfortunately, Thunderbolt 3 doesn't really tick off. So if you also think about other verticals, like, I mean, this product is interesting everywhere where there's a need for extra security of data. So, and I touched on it briefly earlier, think about lawyers, doctors, someone in finance, all these type of scenarios or companies dealing with that kind of data. Unlike the M&E industry, they would most likely not all be running on Macs, so they wouldn't have Thunderbolt 3 interfaces, and that's where it becomes tricky. So one reason really for sticking to the USB Type-C interface here is that we simply achieve much broader compatibility.
Yeah, and I think, Grace, that was something we touched on, is that, really, for Tom's world in M&E, but really, as Ruben was saying, government, medical, lawyers, as I said earlier, everyone's working from home. People are sending data around.
Everyone's data is private these days and needs to be secure. So whatever industry you're in corporate business as well, people are working from home a lot more now because of COVID. Important data has been transported from the office back home, where files were usually kept in an office. So it's in every industry really across the board, but especially in public sectors, government, medical, oil and gas, even, data is important for a lot of people, and for that to be secure and encrypted. So
trying to see if there's the communications via Bluetooth or USB.
Bluetooth.
I guess that.
Well, I mean, the physical connection obviously is a Type-C cable. That's where the data flows. But the unlocking and the communication with the phone works via Bluetooth. That's Bluetooth-based technology.
Can you unlock it via USB? So say you had an issue with Bluetooth, I guess is the question.
No, not really. You would need your phone to unlock it.
Okay.
at least at this moment in time.
Okay. That's going through here. And there's the encryption. So with the Bluetooth, that's only communicating with the lock-unlock chip, which is obviously totally separate from accessing the data.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I guess that's what that.
So you wouldn't via Bluetooth. You wouldn't be able to access the data.
You wouldn't be able to access any data. Yeah, it's purely locking the.
No.
And I guess actually that's a good point, because you guys, you know, the G Technology, a pedigree brand of WDC, is such that you guys actually make everything that's inside. Apart from probably resistors and capacitors, but you probably have a division for that as well. But the one actually good point I read in the white paper was that your manufacturing facilities, and I know someone in government once asked me things about some encryption on drives, is that, is there at the manufacturing process, is there any ability to, kind of put some form of malware or Trojan, into the firmware? But from what I believe, your facilities, the drives that these are built on, don't have access to the internet. They're only on their own intranet. The firmware is a read-only file. So actually, in making, really your manufacturing process of the drive is encrypted as well. Just you kind of look at it
if you want so, and yes, and yes. So you basically answered the question yourself already. That's a entirely secure process, which there is no way to infiltrate it or to infect it with some malware or whatever it is before the drive actually leaves the factory. That wouldn't happen.
Cool. Great. So there are any other ones? I guess the list prices was one of the questions.
So in the UK, that's £549, and then in euros it's €599 list price.
And for our kind of guys in the UAE, it's $599.
US dollars, yes.
Yeah.
And they can come and speak to you, resellers.
Great. So is there anything we've missed? We had a great download from Tom, Ruben, awesome demo, and it's nice actually that as Tom said, it's just really super simple just to kind of set up, and he did it, just prior to kind of jumping on this. So, great. Is there anything else we've kind of missed? There's like
I think everyone sort of throughout the conversation, everyone's covered the questions. We had some questions that Tom covered in terms of asking about future products from G Technology.
Oh, hang on. There's another one coming. Do you want to read that one out, Grace? I haven't got my glasses.
Does ArmorLock have a remote erase capability, and if so, how does it work? Obviously, you won't have Bluetooth connection on your phone and the drive is missing. So I think they're asking if we can erase the data remotely from the drive, so if it gets lost. Ruben?
We can, and the app does that the next time it's connected. So obviously, it has to be connected to some phone, but yeah, you can do that.
And I think, Ruben, if I remember rightly, again, citing the white paper, it's actually a really good, if you've got a cup of coffee and half an hour spare, it's a good read if you're slow at reading. But I think that there's a different mode you can put the drive in, which is where when you boot the drive and if it doesn't have, if the authentication is wrong or someone tries to do something bad, I guess in basic terms, it would physically just erase the data. Will I get my self-destruct? Am I Mission Impossible, right?
Exactly.
Is that true? Was that my understanding of it?
Yes, that is basically something we can do. Yeah.
Great. Okay. Great. So I guess really just to sum up, ArmorLock available now over EMEA. It's super tough. It's rugged. It can take sideways winds. Everest proof, I think, was a potential possibility. IP67, drop-proof, USB 3.1 Gen 2, 1,000-pound crush resistant if you're in America, and of course the professional 5-year warranty that G Technology is synonymous with. So I think if that's it, let me just double check we're not going to lose
anyone. If
anyone
have
else.
any questions, they can always reach out to me or to Global directly, and we can help them answer any questions after this. Or
Great. And Grace, what would be the best way of people to get hold of G Technology? Via your website, or?
People on this call can contact me directly. So that's grace.ensor@wdc.com.
That's where it is.
I can help them out on that. And for the wider aspect, there is information on our website. But yeah, just reach out to me directly.
Great. Okay. And and then likewise, globaldistribution.com to get hold of anyone global. And otherwise, just to say, Ruben, exceptional. Thank you so much for chipping in on a Wednesday.
My pleasure.
Hope the weather in Germany is better than it is here.
I wouldn't say that. It's not great at all, but yeah, it's been my pleasure. It's been really good. So I hope it was interesting for everyone. And do let us know, give us feedback.
Thanks, Ruben. Pleasure. Grace, thank you very much. Do you want to say anything before you go?
No, just thank you everyone for joining the call. It's been a good success. If you have any questions, please reach out and ask. We're here to help.
Great. Thanks ever so much. Thanks, guys. And thank you, Tom, wherever
Thank
you
you.
are. All the best. Take care. Thanks for watching. Cheers.
Bye-bye.
Bye.